Hello. We as fundraisers are called to take our responsibilities with the greatest seriousness. We've been hired by organizations, frequently as professionals, to do this work of major gift engagement, developing donors through the solicitation cycle, bringing them into contact and into an ever-deepening relationship with our organizations, and over the course of time, making gifts that are meaningful to those donors and having great meaning and impact with our organizations. And so we're to prepare seriously, and we are to set high goals for ourselves as fundraisers, to develop our skills, to grow in our competence, deepen in our confidence, and over the course of time, deepen in our character, seeing ourselves as servant leaders, facilitators of philanthropy, stewards of relationships. Because it's not about me, and it's not about you. We prepare as if it is, because we want to go in and we want to execute that call with the kind of professionalism, effectiveness, persuasiveness that leads to great results for our donors and for our organizations. Yet it's not about us. It's about our donors, what they want to accomplish with their resources. It's about our organizations, the missions that we represent, the priorities, the needs, the opportunities, the aspirations that we can bring into conversation with donors. As we come to better understand what the donor is passionate about, trying to align what it is about our organization that would most closely align itself with these donors. So we're representatives of our organizations. We're representatives in some respects of the donors as we try and bring the two parties together in a way to end up with a result that will make the world, will make people, will make others a better place and better for it. The way we need to approach donors is as servant leaders. We're to lead them, but we lead them with a certain deference. It's their pace, not ours. It's their time, after all, not ours. And it's their development as human beings, their development as philanthropists, that takes shape over the course of time. And it is our privilege, oftentimes, to help participate in developing extraordinary philanthropists through their extraordinary philanthropy. We don't want to put dollar signs on it, because gifts of impact, gifts of consequence to donors, in some respects might be more modest, in others might be extraordinarily large. We take the donor where they are, and we hope to lead the donor on a journey with our organization to give them deep satisfaction in their commitments, deep satisfaction in their relationship with our organization, and helping to demonstrate over time how impactful, how important their contributions in fact have been for our organization, for its mission, and those and what we serve. So our focus is to regard donors in such a way as how can we help these donors become better? How can we help these donors become more impactful, become greater through their service of philanthropy? Now, we're professionals, and we're to strive to grow as professionals, to grow in mastery, you might say, of our work. But we are to not pursue becoming friends. Our role is to have a certain distance as counselors, as advisors, as helpers. But friendship is not something we should be seeking. Now, sometimes donors seek us out as friends because, hey, some of us are pretty interesting people too. We love engaging with many of our donors so often because of the extraordinary and fascinating and interesting people they are. Well, and sometimes they actually see us in a similar light. But regardless of that, what we need to do is maintain our professionalism. Now, after our retirements, after we move on to other organizations, we're no longer dealing with those particular donors because of different affiliations and so on. Well, maybe there's an opportunity for friendship there. But as much as we feel endeared to our donors, we have to maintain a certain professional distance. Why? This is important because we're representing our organizations, and we're not to compromise that relationship of the organization with the donor. You know, our organizations, our donors won't always over time necessarily see eye to eye. There may be differences of opinion. We may have to represent points of view of our organization to donors that they don't always appreciate or agree with. But we have to represent our employers, our missions, as best we can. Something like friendship with the donors can color that relationship and make it more difficult to do our jobs and fulfill the purpose for which we're hired and paid. And sometimes this effort of leading donors somewhere through, developing donors through the solicitation cycle, time after time over the course of time, we have to challenge our donors sometimes to step forward in ways that are uncomfortable for them, that they don't readily agree to, that it takes time for them to come to agreement to. And if we're overly attached to those donors, we may be compromised in our ability to do that. And frankly, that would be to their detriment, and that would be to the detriment of our organizations. So, when we talk about building competence, deepening in confidence, growing in character, understanding who we are in our character is so important. We need to be honest with ourselves, grow in honesty with ourselves, reflect about who we are, come to understand, grow deeper in our self-awareness about what makes us tick. Where are we vulnerable? And we don't want to bring our personal needs into the development work, the fundraising work. We need to check that at the door and come in as professionals and do our job as professionals. You know, we're not out to get kudos. We're not out to be the center of things. We want to make our donors the center of things. And if we do our jobs well, I can guarantee you, praise and appreciation will come to us as fundraisers in this invaluable role that we play of matching philanthropists with these great organizations that we represent. But we have to operate as members of the organization and not as some kind of independent act. There's no lone rangers in fundraising. What our goal is to bring these donors ever more deeply into the life of our organizations, to the extent that they're willing. And we do that by bringing them into association with other folks in our organizations, those above us, those around us. If we're at universities or colleges or high schools, our faculty when appropriate, or significant staff that might be helpful, and certainly other philanthropists and volunteers that care about our organizations. By bringing our donors into that set of relationships, their lives are enriched, and the bonds between our organization and those donors grow stronger, grow deeper. Whether, we're there tomorrow or not, by building that kind of network of relationships around this donor and with this donor, will preserve and protect that relationship. Because after all, we are facilitators of these relationships. We don't own them. They belong to the donor. They belong to our organizations. We are there in between, doing the best jobs possible as professionals in order to make great things happen for both. And in the process of doing so, deriving our own satisfaction as servant leaders as we watch the great outcomes that unfold. So it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the donor. It's about our organizations. It's about these outstanding missions we represent. It's about these outstanding people we get to engage with, how privileged we are. And when we do this with our very deepest commitment to do it in an outstanding way, being great, becoming greater in our work, our donors will appreciate it more and more. And our organizations will both appreciate and benefit from our work more and more. I'm interested in what you think about this. And I appreciate your going to the forum if you care to, and share your thoughts with us and with me. And I thank you very, very much for listening.